And I've been going to Sundance for 30 years. And I've been on the buying side, I've been on the selling side. I've never had a movie at Sundance that has that you read about with a big bidding war and an auction and everything else. And I'm like, I'm finally gonna have my movie and we screen the movie and we don't have a single buyer. We were getting ready to shoot Get Out, and we were going to shoot it in Los Angeles. And we had everything set to make the movie in Los Angeles. And about 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks before we were going to start photography, so in the middle of prep, it was actually Christmas, and we lost the rebate or something went terribly wrong. And of course, I was the one who had to tell Jordan that we were going to now have to move with 2 weeks left to shoot, find everything and shoot the movie in Louisiana. And I called him on Christmas Day, which was very, I don't know why, it had to be Christmas Day because that's the day I found out, and we had to have as many days as possible, as much time as possible. And I was very nervous to call him and tell him. And he took the news incredibly well. And and 3 weeks later, we were shooting in Louisiana, and it all worked out. But it was a dramatic moment for sure.
Good to see another brother around here.
Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
Another funny Get Out moment was when we first screened the movie for an audience. The movie had a very different ending, and I remember telling Jordan. And it's easy. It's much easier for us to do this because Jordan had final cut on the movie. Our director said they have total creative control, so it's easy for me to give my opinions because it's not like I'm mandating anything because they don't have to take what I say. But I remember the movie ended and it just shot out of my mouth. You can't end. Daniel is too good. Please don't put him in jail. And Jordan kind of recoiled, but then he came up with an idea that was what the ending of the movie was, which he liked much better, and I thought it was amazing. I pitched some horrible end, and he turned my horrible idea into a great one. My great memory of Insidious is I had a little, I made Paranormal Activity for Paramount, and they threw me off the lot, which gave me the drive to start my company. So I'm always, in a funny way, grateful for them for mistreating me because I said, I'm gonna get you guys back. And we started Blumhouse and made all these movies. But the second movie we made after Paranormal Activity was Insidious. And definitely my biggest memory on Insidious was I was given a little, around the same time as Paranormal, I made a movie called The Tooth Fairy with The Rock, which was my experience making a big budget movie, and I didn't like it, so I never made a big budget movie again. But I learned from that movie too. And I had we were in post-production on that movie. I had a tiny little office in Fox and in the Die Hard building. That's where the Fox offices were. And James and Lee came up to my little office and they sat there. I'd never met them before, and they pitched Insidious. And James, I remember to this day, James was very insistent that the movie be PG-13, that he had made Saw, he'd made these 2 other movies that he wasn't so happy with, and he wanted total creative control, and he wanted PG-13. And if I was open to that, he would do it. Now, I don't think they had a lot of other options, but I said yes, and we were off to the races on that one too. But it was great, and Insidious was great for the company because it showed that we weren't just Paranormal Activity wasn't a magic trick, but that there was kind of a formula or a system that we had that was somewhat unique. My best memory from Blackkklansman was meeting Spike Lee. I had Spike Lee and Jordan and a couple other people in my office at the first time I met Spike Lee, and we got to talk to him about why he wanted to do Blackkklansman, which was kind of amazing. Like, it was a joke because he was more interviewing us than we were interviewing him, you know what I mean? But so we were trying to make sure that he felt comfortable. And when I was in that meeting and I met Spike, I remember I sat in a different chair than I usually sat in. So I felt like I just wanted him to have total control of the room. And it was amazing. He was one of my kind of heroes growing up. Spike Lee was one of the few directors whose movies I would always go see, the Spike Lee movie, always. So to get to actually make a movie with him was pretty amazing. Halloween was the most difficult movie we ever have done. We've done 150 movies, and the most difficult movie to get off the ground, interestingly, was Halloween. And it was difficult to get off the ground because the rights of Halloween were so complicated, and we kept stopping and starting and stopping and starting. And when you're beginning as a producer, every movie feels like it's going to shut down. But after you've produced 10 movies, you figure out that's just what happens, and you don't believe that anymore. Halloween, I called Jamie Lee Curtis, and I were kind of working together on figuring this thing out. And I actually called Jamie and I said, I think it's over. And I had a phone call in my bedroom in my apartment in Los Angeles with one of my partners on the movie, and it kind of sealed the deal. It was finished, and it was done. And I let go of the movie creatively, which is very rare to do. And I just let go, and I said, we aren't going to make it. And about 5 days later, somehow it came back. Someone agreed to something and someone else agreed to something else, and it came back together, and the rest is history. But it was a dark moment. I always wanted to do one of the monster movies. We don't have anything to do with the MonsterVerse at Universal, but most of our movies are distributed through the MonsterVerse. And I've talked to a lot of our filmmakers, like, can't you think of a Dracula or Frankenstein? Can't you think of something? And Lee was the first one after many years who finally said, hey, I think I could do something with The Invisible Man, which was very exciting to me. I've known Lee we've worked together for 10 years. This is our 7th movie together. I know well enough when he doesn't get excited about much, and when he's excited about something, it's going to be great. So that was my happiest moment on Invisible Man. The second happiest moment was when I saw the movie for the first time.
Cecilia, what is going on? Are you okay?
I'll explain later. Just go, Emily. Go.
Donna Langley, who runs Universal and is my partner on most of these movies, she actually suggested, what about Elizabeth Moss for Invisible Man? And I hadn't thought of it, but as soon as she said it, it felt right to me, and we said it to Lee, and Lee was thrilled at the idea. We sent her the script, and luckily enough, she really loved the script, and then she was in Toronto, and Lee talked to her, and within a couple weeks, she was doing the movie, which is unusual. Usually it takes longer to cast a movie than it took to cast The Invisible Man. So Whiplash is an amazing, I always say this because a lot of people say, oh, my favorite Blumhouse movie is Whiplash, and it's one of my favorites too. I love the movie. But it's a great example of Hollywood, no one ever knowing what's going to work. And I tell the example because on Whiplash, it happened not just at the script, but at the finished movie at both stages. So we had a script, no one would make it, so we made a short. Jason Reitman and I each put up $5,000 and we made a short for 10 grand. And the short won Sundance. And I took a winning short from Sundance and the script, and we sent it out to every financier in the world, and no one would make it except this crazy guy, Michel Litvak, who is the unsung hero of Whiplash. No one gives this guy enough credit. The only person of every genius in Hollywood, the only person who said yes was Michel Litvak. So he writes a check for the whole movie, which he does not get enough credit for. And we finish the movie, and we're at Sundance, and we're like opening night or the second, right in the beginning. Like, we have a great slot, we have a big play at the Egypt, we play, and I've been going to Sundance for 30 years. And I've been on the buying side, I've been on the selling side. I've never had a movie at Sundance that has that you read about, with a big bidding war and an auction and everything else. And I'm like, I'm finally gonna have my movie and we screen the movie, and we don't have a single buyer, except at the end of the night, we got one phone call, we got offered $1 million, the movie cost $3 and change. We got offered $1 million for the world for the movie. And we turned it down. And eventually, Sony Classics, they stole the movie, the deal. They got the most incredible deal, which of course they did because we had no competition. No one believed the movie would work even when it was finished. And most people say it's the favorite movie of ours that we've ever done. So there you go. It's a great lesson for Hollywood.